What's up, guys? Wanted to make another video about the aftermath of that debate debacle for Joe Biden. There was a couple other things that were popping up, more reactions. I also wanted to talk about. I wanted to show that video of Gavin Newsom because I was in a rush and I forgot to actually show it on the last video. Just what he said right after the debate, and yeah, the Dems are panicking bad. They are completely almost out on Biden. I don't think there's that many people. There's like a handful of people who are still riding with Biden. I think we can safely say too. I was thinking about it that was the worst debate performance in history. I mean, it's pretty bad. There's there's other debates where people have bad performances because they're anxious or they're a little nervous. They don't have the right answers or they say something stupid. But I mean, I don't think they even compete with what we saw on Thursday night, or was it Thursday or Friday night? And yeah, I mean, the Dems are turning on him, and people. I think a good comparison was when they were talking about how Nixon debated, I think, JFK, and it was like the first televised debate, and half people kind of watched it on TV. The other half people still listen to it on the radio because that's typically how they would listen to it and hear it. If anybody who's interested, and I think Nixon was sick and he looked terrible on the TV and he was sweating and people were like, oh, he doesn't look so good, and they kind of had that had an influence on their opinion, and so the people who watched it on TV thought JFK won because he looked all regal and handsome and whatever, and not sick. And the radio people thought that Nixon won because his points were good and I guess his voice was still good. It's not exactly a 1-to-1, but it's just interesting because, yeah, I mean, he he is like sick pretty much. It's mentally, and it's sad. It really is. But the Dems want to replace him, and there's candidates that they're thinking of. It's kind of weird. It's like how are they going to do it? And it's also weird that it took this for them to realize that something's wrong with him. I mean, we've been saying it forever. Like literally a couple weeks ago, we were talking about how he didn't look good in Normandy and all these other appearances that he was having, and there was so many reports saying that like Republicans are just these people, these news outlets, whoever is talking about it, are just crazy and they don't know what they're talking about. And yeah, I mean it's just strange that this. I guess it was just so bad that they couldn't couldn't ignore it. I don't know. Because I really thought they were just gonna. There's still, like I said, a handful of people that are just kind of riding with Biden still, including Gavin Newsom, who I don't believe at all. I mean, he's just saying what he's saying. He's basically just like Joe Biden, a younger version, career politician, do, do nothing. He probably never really had a real job. Was well off. He was born rich into a rich family. His father was very wealthy, and he had connects. And his father knew an oil tycoon. I forget his name right now. I should have brought it up, but yeah, he they were close friends, and apparently he was like a second father to Gavin Newsom, and he kind of groomed him into politics. And yeah, I mean, when you are able to dump so much money and you have influence because you're wealthy and you're powerful, like an elitist, almost like an elite, um, it's almost no not fair. And he that's kind of how he rose through the ranks. So yeah, I mean, you're pumping money into his campaigns by from an oil tycoon. He's just gonna win every time. So yeah, and he's just a terrible person. He's infamously the guy during COVID, like one of the first elitist, you know, guys who went out to, I think it was what, French Laundry. Everybody was saying, Dr. Fauci was saying, we can't go out. Nobody, everybody has to stay in, and you can't go to family functions, and you can't see your family die, your grandfather die, or your grandmother. You can't go to them. And this guy's going out to French Laundry with, I think he had no mask. I think it was like a restaurant I think it was I think California. I mean, he's the governor of California, but I forget exactly where that was. But yeah, he was spotted out there, and no cares. It's the typical rules for thee, but not for me. And he's just a terrible guy. He's I think he was the mayor of San Francisco initially, and he ruined that city, and then he became the governor, and he's ruining the entire state. And I mean, you just look at the numbers; it's terrible. But anyway, point is that people, for whatever reason, I guess girls think he's good looking. He has that kind of look. I don't know, same as Joe Biden when he was younger, and they think that he would be the best candidate. And it is a popularity contest, so who knows? I mean, maybe he would win against Trump. They hate Trump so much they could put anybody up, and I don't know, how they would do. Like they might beat him anyway, just because these people are deranged. And they want, and that's the other thing is, like, if they do that, I'm a little wary of it, because I feel like, given everything that we went through in the past 6 years, 8 years, whatever it's been, you never know what they're going to pull out of their hat. So you almost feel like, they might pull some tricks out or do some kind of, but it's so close to, the election, and the conventions are coming up. It's going to be tough for them. But like I said, I wouldn't put it past Democrats to have some kind of plan or do something to be real sneaky. And yeah, I mean, it should be Kamala because she's vice president, but she's way younger and just as bad as him. Even though she has mental clarity, she's just so stupid that she's basically on par with him in intelligence, and that's pretty sad. And I think they know that she's terrible. Apparently, she's furious about this. There's reports. I don't know if it's true, of course, but they're saying that she's furious because she's not being considered as as a replacement, which she should be, honestly, because it's the vice president first. But I don't know. We'll get into that a little bit. But yeah, first I want to get to that video of Gavin professing that I would never take over. We have to stand by Biden no matter what. Let's take a look at that.
You were out there getting a chorus of questions about whether Biden should step down. There is panic that has set in. There is panic that has set in among people who have watched this debate, who are Democrats, people who are strategists, and some even inside Democratic campaigns. Yeah. Do you think it's unfounded?
Well, I think it's unhelpful, and I think it's unnecessary. We've got to go in and got to keep our heads high. And as I say, we've got to have the back of this president. You don't turn your back because of one performance. What kind of party does that? It's been a masterclass. 15.6 million jobs. That's 8 times more than the last 3 Republican presidents combined. The only thing the last 3 Republican presidents have in common is recessions. Democrats deliver. This president has delivered. We need to deliver for him at this moment. With all due respect, the more time we start having these conversations, go down these rabbit holes, it's unhelpful to our democracy, our fate and future of this country, the world. They need us right now to step up, and that's exactly what I intend to do.
Okay, so you can see there, I mean, he's got some charm, he's got some charisma for sure. I mean, he's been around for a while, but it's just the way he's saying this, it's like, wow, what a good guy, what a hero. He's not giving in. He wants Biden no matter what, and he's got the best interests of the party, and it's like, I don't think so. He's a little bit of a snake. Not a little bit. He is a snake. And I'm sure that he's thinking, he's just rubbing his hands together behind the scenes like, I can't wait. But he's just saying the right thing. I mean, a typical politician, saying the right thing that you want to hear. I'm sure he would step right up right away. Here's another video from that.
The president.
No, that was right after the debate, by the way. They interviewed him, and everybody was kind of coming to the revelation of, wow, that was terrible. And he was, steadfast and adamant that, no. But like I said, he was just saying what you want to hear. This is also right after, I believe. Oh, no, this is before.
Put out a plan, responsibility executive to put out a plan, and they refuse to negotiate. They refuse to take action. And 2 of the biggest cowards were people like Lindsey Graham. People like Marco Rubio were part of the Gang of Eight in 2013, had the courage of their conviction to work with Democrats to address this issue. The President of the United States was willing to do that. They said no, and he still stuck with it, had a bipartisan deal that he negotiated that addressed a lot of their concerns. He moved farther than most, and Trump refused to do it because he wants it to be an issue tonight. He wants it to be an issue over the next many nights through this campaign for political benefit, period, full stop.
He's gonna do exactly what they want him to do. Like he's right down the line of the party. He's just like Joe Biden. I mean, Joe Biden's more like a puppet. He was more like a moderate back in the day. Now he's just a mindless puppet, and they're just kind of using him. But Gavin Newsom is super progressive. He has the same, like, you know, thought process or thought line as these kooks, these cultists. So yeah, they of course they like him. Of course they want him in. And this Chiron, by the way, First Lady Jill Biden. I know Joe is ready to go. She's one of the worst of all of them, honestly. Like, putting him through this stuff, and that video I showed last time of her going, you know, you answered all the questions, and what did Trump do? And she gives the mic to the crowd. Lie. Yeah. Whoa. That's weird. Yeah, and then here's some people, some things that came out after, you know, in the last couple of days about Joe, you know, stepping down and all this. And I mean, this is just, I agree with this wholeheartedly. Joe Biden is not your grandpa. This is Eric Matheny. He tweeted this, tweeted, Joe Biden is not your grandpa. He's not a sympathetic old man. He's a worthless government leech who has never held a real job, showered with his daughter, used a crack addicted son to sell the family name abroad. Yep. Used his influence to strong-arm an Ukrainian investigation into his family's corrupt dealings. Yep. He opened our border to 9 million illegals. Yep. Abandoned Americans in Afghanistan. Definitely. Yep. Sent your tax out, and not just Americans. He all the Sherpas and others that helped Americans and helped America left and dead. Definitely dead by now. It's terrible. Anyway, sent your tax dollars to Ukraine while your cost of living skyrockets at home. Yep. All. Joe Biden deserves every minute of shame and embarrassment. 100% I agree. But yeah, not to beat an old dead horse. But yeah. And then Donald Trump Jr. posted this out, and he said this is real. He said this is a real cover of Time. I didn't get to double check. I guess I could do that kind of real time here. Time magazine. Cover. Yeah, there it is. Let's go to the News AU. Oh, wait. Time magazine. Yeah, that's it. It's, I thought it was a joke, but it's real. So, yeah. And then, so this came out. I'm not going to say anything 100%, but Breaking 911 said that according to Bill O'Reilly, who I don't really mess with him, he says the decision has been made that the president will quit the campaign. 2 reasons: Democrat internal polling says he cannot recover from the debate, and fundraising is drying up. I don't think fundraising is drying up. That doesn't even make sense. But yeah, that could be true. But I'm not gonna commit to anything until they say it, because we don't know yet. So it's only Sunday. I was gonna make this video yesterday, but I usually don't, jump on the Sunday here, but I wanted to just get this out here. But yeah, here's all the many articles from Forbes. Not all the articles, but here's some that are just talking about pundits. Pundits suggest Biden drop out after shaky debate. Gavin Newsom dismisses running. We just saw that. Here's a whole bunch from CNN. They have many. Biden acknowledges weak debate performance as Democratic questions swirl over whether he'll stay in the presidential race. There's also debate performance sets off alarm bells for Democrats. Democrats fear replacement scenarios as much as keeping Biden. Here's what could happen if Biden decided to leave the race. So here's some interesting information. I mean, let's just go through this a little bit. Joe Biden's spotty debate performance. Spotty? Okay. spotty is one way to put it. Joe Biden's spotty debate performance immediately triggered new questions from worried Democrats about whether he would leave the presidential race. So Biden is already the Democrats' presumptive nominee and the overwhelming choice of primary voters. He faced little opposition during the primary season, and the fact that he won nearly all the party's delegates means it's very unlikely that he'll be forced out of the race against his will. And apparently he's been pretty adamant about not being kicked out because people have been talking about this before. Here and there, little rumblings, and you know how he is, tough guy, Joe. I'll do whatever I want. You can't tell me otherwise. And then this was just an interesting. Things would be very different in 2024 if Biden decided to leave the race. Although Democrats' convention will return to Chicago in August. I think it's August 19th, something like that. That's after the Republican convention, so they have a little bit of time. What, 2 months? A month and a half, basically. But yeah, as we first wrote back in February, if the leading candidate was to drop out of the campaign after most primaries or even during the convention, and individual delegates would need to select a party's nominee on the convention floor or potentially during a virtual roll call. The Democratic Party set a deadline of June 22nd for states to select more than 3,900 delegates, almost all of them currently pledged to Biden. So it seems that June 22nd is a special, is a big date, I should say, for them. It's like their deadline. So who could replace Biden? You can assume, for instance, that Vice President. Here's where they talk about Kamala. I mean, it's like a cope. You could assume, for instance, that Vice President Kamala Harris would be a top contender to be on the ballot in such a scenario, but there'd be other potential candidates who could previously argue they could run a more effective campaign against former President Donald Trump. So they are kind of acknowledging, yeah, I mean, it should be Kamala, but what about these guys? Check these guys out. So here's Gavin Newsom offered unqualified support for Biden in the wake of Thursday's debate. We just saw that video's challenge Harris at the convention. Settling on a replacement could be divisive and ugly. It would be up to the delegates to decide in a series of votes after frantic lobbying who to pick. So they definitely don't have a lot of time, but like I said, I wouldn't put it past them to throw a curveball in there and do something weird. Would the running mate automatically become the nominee? An in-depth Congressional Research Service memo also notes that if an incumbent president becomes incapacitated after winning the party's nomination, the 25th Amendment would elevate the vice president to the presidency, but party rules would determine who rises to become the party's nominee. Neither party, according to the Congressional Research Service, requires that the presidential candidate's running mate be elevated to the top of the ticket, though that would obviously be the most likely scenario. Again, and not acknowledging that it probably should be Kamala, it probably will be Kamala, but what about all these other people? Because they know she's a disaster. They know they don't want to admit it, but they know that she's terrible. So, has a candidate ever left the race after the convention? In modern times, per the Congressional Research Service, the Democrat running for vice president in 1972. So I thought this was interesting. Senator Thomas Eagleton was forced to step aside after the convention, after it was discovered that he was treated for mental illness. Now, look at what they write here in parentheses. 1972 was a very different time. Today, thankfully, there's not nearly the stigma attached to mental health. Huh? CNN? What? If anyone in my government has a mental illness, I don't want them there. What are you talking about? Stigma. Get the hell out of here with your stigma. I mean, that's ridiculous. How it depends. Certain things were considered mental illness that, are just kind of basic now, or not as bad as bipolar disorder or schizophrenia. But I mean, almost any kind of mental illness, I don't want you running the government. But hey, we got Dianne Feinstein and the Pennsylvania guy with the hoodie. What's his name? It'll come back to me. But yeah, these guys are all messed up. All these people that want to be politicians and have power, they have to be messed up in the head to begin with. So, what if a president, and here's the last part, what if a president-elect was incapacitated after the election? If a president-elect was to die, timing is again important. So they're talking about, so here they are acknowledging, yeah, maybe if he does keep going, he might die. Or there's a good chance he's going to die. The Congressional Research Service memo, which cites several congressional hearings on the subject, suggests it would clearly makes sense for a vice president-elect to simply assume the role of president-elect. But the law itself is murky. Oh, okay. So you just leave that there just in case, like, just, it's murky though. So, there's room for messing with it. Here's Gavin Newsom. I don't know if you don't know what he looks like. There's Gavin Newsom. We just saw the video. And Gretchen Whitmer. She's another one, and she's terrible as well. She's I think Michigan, governor of Michigan, and here she is. Yeah, Michigan, and she was involved with that Fednapping that was planned, where these guys got wrapped up into this, basically, this kidnapping plot. Here it is in Wikipedia. It's basically entrapment, another kind of January 6th type thing. These people, they were, coerced into doing this. So whatever. Anyway, she's terrible as well. Just like typical progressive, just on the line of the left and the Democrat Party these days. So, yeah, I thought there was more, but yeah, no, I guess that's it. I just don't know how, it took this long for people to wake up. They're also talking about Hillary. Maybe, I don't know, who knows? Michelle Obama, they've talked about that. She said she doesn't want to run, but hey, desperate times call for desperate measures. Who the hell knows? I also feel like there's a lot of Democrats, well, maybe center Democrats, a little leaning towards the center, or like independents or libertarians even, who are going, oh, come on, let's be real. They both sucked. They both were bad, and they're both terrible candidates. And I just feel like that's like a cope. It's like a hard cope, because I think Trump did fine. He's spry. He doesn't seem like he's old. He's the best president of my lifetime. So I'm in my 30s. So I saw at least 5, I guess, presidents, and yeah, I just think it's a massive cope, because so many people hate him, and so many people believe the propaganda and just believe what they hear on the TV, legacy media, and just everywhere else, the mainstream media, that's just badmouths him all the time. I mean, everything he said, he talked about policy. He addressed a lot of the things that he addressed Biden a lot, and he kind of said what he talked about, things that he was saying, but that's because he was lying a lot. So he was trying to at least kind of set the record straight there. So, but then he would go into his policies and stuff, and I think, and just the points, just the issues with the country right now, and it's all correct, and it's just everything that Biden took over that he just totally reversed, basically, just to do it, because Trump did it. So, but yeah, let me know what you guys think. Is Biden still going to be the nominee come August? Is he going to be ousted? Is Kamala going to be promoted and they're going to get behind her? Drop a comment, let me know. Drop a like if you liked the video, subscribe, and remember, just because you don't take an interest in the government doesn't mean the government won't take an interest in you. Peace.